Hello everybody, and welcome to our latest Assess First webinar. Today we will be talking about assessing soft skills in the recruitment process. So we'll be asking the questions, what's the big deal? Why should we even be considering soft skills as an important factor to assess? What type of soft skills are we talking about assessing? And then once you've established that actually, yes, I think we need to start putting our focuses upon assessing soft skills. How do we even do it? Where do we start? What's that starting point? So this is what we shall be covering over the next 30 minutes or so. Just to quickly introduce myself, my name is Becca, and I am an international account manager here at Assess First. Now, I'm not sure how much you know about Assess First, if anything at all. But just briefly to start, I'll give you a quick introduction to who we are. So we've been around since 2002, and we were originally the publishers of psychometric tests and personal assessments. And then about 5-6 years ago, we moved into this world of predictive recruitment. And so ultimately what that means is our online tool is able to tell you how any one individual, any one candidate, or even sort of team members will perform within a specific job, maybe a certain team, and a particular company culture through the assessment of their soft skills. So looking specifically at their personalities, at their motivations, and their level of mental agility. So I guess let's begin by asking ourselves why we should even be looking at soft skills. Let's take a look at an example, kind of an average team. Here you can see on this graph, you've got level of happiness measured against the level of performance of a team. Now, I'm pretty sure you can probably relate to some of these individuals on this graph, maybe to the team that you work with or the team that you manage. But ultimately, what we have here is a selection of individuals who, well, let's take the upper left quartile first. These guys here are high performers, but they're not necessarily engaged within the role. Now, this may be because maybe they've been with the company for a really long time. They're really, really competent, but maybe they're just no longer motivated in what they do on a day-to-day basis. Maybe they're bored. We've then got those in the bottom left quartile here, those who are underperforming and ultimately pretty miserable in the role. Now, this may be due to several things. Maybe they're disengaged, maybe they don't fit with your company culture. We've then got those in the bottom right quartile. Now, these are people who aren't performing, unfortunately, but you can see they're still happy within the role. So these will tend to be the individuals who are maybe new to your company with loads of enthusiasm, but who may not yet be fully trained or have yet to learn the role fully. And finally, there's those who are in that upper right quartile of the graph. And those are the people that we want to find for our companies. Those are the stars. Now, these guys are really thriving, really motivated in their roles. And because of that, you'll see that they're actually really performing. And they're the people that are less likely to leave your business. Now, for all four of those sections, all four of those quartiles, they have something in common, a running theme between them. The reason as to why so-and-so sits where so-and-so sits is not necessarily due to the fact that they can or cannot physically do the role. It's all to do with their motivations. So their drive and their want to do the role. Their personality, meaning the way that they behave in certain situations, and their fit to your already existing company culture. So how well they get on with their existing teams. Now, all of these factors then have a huge knock-on effect when it comes to performance levels. So those who are maybe not driven, who lack motivation, or who do not fit into the company culture, and ultimately are going against their natural ways and maybe their natural tendencies, will be less likely to perform. What's quite sad is they'll feel less comfortable in the environment that they're in, their workplace, on a day-to-day basis, and then they will ultimately not be happy. And so this is the reason why soft skills are super important to assess, because those are the factors that define performance and, most importantly, that element of happiness within the workplace. And I'm sure you will all agree that we all want to work in a pretty happy workplace. So when we talk about soft skills, what do we actually mean? Well, as you can see here, as defined by the Oxford Dictionary, soft skills are personal attributes that enable someone to interact effectively and harmoniously with other people. So maybe you've sometimes heard it called transferable skills or professional skills. They're ultimately skills that are less specialized, so less rooted in specific roles or vocations, and more aligned with someone's general personality. So it's really who somebody is, that vavavoom that makes them who they are. And in comparison, hard skills are the exact opposite. So they tend to be used to establish a minimum level in ability. But what about the potential of people to learn new transferable skills, so new soft skills? The potential to thrive in certain changing environments. Now, this is what we feel is really important here at Assess First. The working environment, ideas, the economy, tech, they are all changing. Things move pretty fast, and it tends to be, or at least it feels like, there's change occurring every week in companies. Maybe you feel that, maybe you don't. But it's really important, because of that reason, to establish who has this ability to adapt to change, who has the ability to grow with a company and to thrive in these sorts of environments. Now, this cannot be assessed through hard skills, and simply knowing, yep, this person here can do the job, they do it really well today. Their soft skills are what need to be assessed in order to establish these attributes in somebody. And especially when we're talking about graduates and interns, this aspect is even more poignant, because it tends to be that graduates and interns and placement students have little experience. So when we're talking about assessing individuals, their soft skills for graduates could be the key to finding those people who will grow within your company. So the situation today, and in all honesty, it probably sounds a bit doom or gloom, but in some aspects, recruitment is broken. That's pretty harsh, but true. And why do I say that with such confidence? So a recent Leaver survey was conducted. And as you can see here, it could be seen that out of the sample taken, there was 17% of new starters who left the business within the first 6 months of joining the company, on average. 36% who left within the first year, and a staggering 46% of new starters left within the space of 18 months, so a year and a half. Now, I'm sure you'll agree that's by no means a perfect process, and it may well be that actually your company has a better or worse level of turnover. But I think the important thing to figure out is how we can improve these numbers, how we can improve these figures. How can we have more people staying within our business, growing with the company? And so in turn, we need to establish why this is happening. What is the reason behind these individuals leaving companies? And so it turns out that actually in 90% of cases, so 9 out of 10 cases, people don't leave companies because of their lack of technical skills. They feel they're physically capable, they can do the role, but there's something missing. And that missing factor accounts for the majority of reasons people leave businesses. And those tend to be one of two things. The first is that their personal motivations just do not align with the company's motivations. What they want to do isn't what the company wishes for them to do. They're not driven by the role. The second is that they simply maybe do not get on with their manager or do not get on with the team upon which they work in. So what needs to change? Well, we do not want to automate a broken process. that's for sure. As you may well have heard, Amazon did exactly that. They were keen on creating an automated process for tech roles in particular. So they would be able to take, let's say, for example, 100 CVs and ultimately have the top 5 selected and automatically hired. However, what happened? So, despite their intention to hire more women, the machine actually did the opposite. Why was that? Because the process was based upon the original ways of looking at resumes. So they didn't take into they'd just taken into consideration, the way that they'd previously recruited and then taken that and automated it. And this is what we have to make sure doesn't happen. So imagine if you were able to revitalize your process by assessing candidates on their soft skills. Imagine that improvement you could see in terms of turnover, in terms of diversity, in terms of staff engagement. And then imagine being able to automate that new focus upon soft skills. And this is when we kind of move into a very key factor in the process, choosing wisely your predictors. So what that means is, I guess, what are the focuses of your recruitment process? Are soft skills currently part of it? Now you can see here that we have a scale of 0 to 1 on that left-hand side. 0 representing the most ineffective element in a standard recruitment process, and 1 representing the most effective. So you can see that, well, quite obviously so, chance and astrology there are deemed the less effective at the bottom, scoring 0. They're deemed the less effective in the recruitment process when searching for that right candidate. No real surprise, but possibly more surprising, the factors involving previous experience, so you can see here years of education, years of job experience, score relatively low at 0.1 and 0.2. They maybe aren't as efficient as we think, yet it's often the first type of information that we tend to scrutinize and assess in the recruitment process, which is possibly a little bit of food for thought there. We can then see that structured interviews score slightly higher, and then personalities tests just above that. So this indicates that there will be extra information available from these personality tests that would not necessarily be uncovered in a face-to-face interview. And I think we can probably all agree that that may well be the case. What's really interesting, actually, is the position of combination of aptitudes, motivations, and personality. This amalgamation of insight into somebody, so I guess what we could say is their global soft skills, has more relevance when looking at the potential of a candidate to succeed within a role than any other factor of the recruitment process. So it's evident that actually a face-to-face interview will not provide you with as much information as a combination of soft skills. Why? Well, because it's no wonder. Candidates are still really selective on the information that they reveal to you in an interview. They will, to be honest with you, unlikely provide you with information on what motivates them. They may alter an answer that will maybe look more like what you think or they think you wish to see. And it's difficult to see an honest personality from an interview. And I think you'll probably agree that that's pretty much a fact. So that kind of covers why soft skills are important to assess. But do we know what we're looking for when we talk about soft skills? Which soft skills are important? So here at Assess First, we assess 20 motivational and 20 personality soft skills within our assessment, and we focus upon a selection of these key traits when creating our benchmark models. So what you see in front of you, is what we call a personal radar. And it's an example of soft skills that we measure when looking at personality traits of an individual. Now, our personality questionnaire, also known as our SHAPE assessment, is based on the Big Five theoretical model, and is built around 3 major axes, each of which enables the individual to respond to a precise question. So its main focuses are the relationship with others. So how does the person taking the assessment establish, how do they manage, how do they develop their relationship with others? Their relationship with work. So how does the candidate approach situations and problems with which they are confronted, let's say on a daily basis, and the type of solutions that they will likely adopt? And then finally, managing emotions. So what emotions is this person most likely to feel? What does the person actually do about them? But the types of soft skills to really focus upon, and those that are deemed important, is really dependent upon the type of role, the managerial level of the role, the team environment of the role, and ultimately the tasks required for the role, so that job description. Those are the variables that will affect the type of soft skills you decide to choose to assess. Why would we not choose to assess every single soft skill? Because not all traits are actually relevant when it comes to specific success within a role. And if you were to measure all of the traits and define all of the key 20 as key traits, you will actually find little diversity in that final pool of candidates. So we say that anywhere between 8-10 key traits are the maximum to focus upon, and the amount that can define the key to success within a specific role. So we've looked at why soft skills should be considered in the recruitment process, the type of soft skills you could have. But how do we actually assess soft skills in the recruitment process? How do we actually do it? So this is our focus at Assess First. We have created 3 assessments which focus upon assessing those soft skills in a candidate. We can then use predictive models to see how well they will do within a specific job role by comparing these 3 aspects to those found in the predictive models. So we have 3 ways of using predictive models to predict how well somebody will do within a job. The first is the use of benchmark models. So we've had over 5 million people take our assessment across different roles, different industries, and different companies with different sizes and cultures. From these results, what we have actually done is we've extracted the key traits, so the key soft skills that are proven to define success for specific roles, and created these benchmark models based upon those key soft skills. Here you can see an example of the different types of benchmark models that we have on our system. This is a very quick and efficient way to compare candidate pure results to benchmark models. However, the limitation is that these benchmarks are really general. They're not necessarily specific for a unique company. So it's for that reason that we've actually created this second type of predictive model. Is what we call the create your own model. And what this does, this actually allows you to take a benchmark model that we just saw and alter the individual traits, the individual soft skills of the model, giving you the freedom ultimately to really prioritize those soft skills, those traits that are really important for your company or for a specific role within your specific company culture. As you can see here, we touch upon their leadership influence, their consideration of others, their level of creativity, their rigor in work, and in fact, all of these soft skills that we highlighted on the personal radar earlier, those top 20 that we assess. We then delve into the important drives for this role, and ultimately, the categories for success in this role based upon the brain assessment. Now, the final way upon which you can create a predictive model is through assessing your existing team. So creating your own model based upon your existing team. And this is the most accurate way to create a model to then replicate through the recruitment process. You can have a selection of existing team members take the assessment. Their responses will then be loaded onto the system, as you can see here. You can then calibrate the system and make the model even more accurate by inputting their actual day-to-day KPI performance, maybe from their 6-month or yearly review. So the tool can then really determine the difference between high and low performance and determine what good looks like for your company. So then what will happen is you will have a predictive model generated for you in, quite simply, a couple of seconds based upon this what good looks like for your business. And those soft skills that are really, really detrimental, really, really important for a high performer in your company. So we detail the expected motivations that you can see here, that we have determined really necessary for a high performer profile based upon your existing high performers, your existing teams. And we then detail the key facts of mental agility that we would be looking for. The interesting and really ergonomic, actually, element of the tool is the possibility to create recruitment campaigns. And what this does is it eases the management of candidates that you have apply. So as soon as candidates have completed the assessment, their names and scorings will appear on this web page here. You can see here a global score and then an individual score based upon those 3 assessments. The tool is then able to detail their global scoring of success here, and then subdivide that global scoring into potential of success in performance and in motivation. So subdivides it into their success, into how their personality and mental agility works and will suit that role, and then how their motivations, how their personal drivers will suit with the drivers for that specific role. We visually compare how they score on the key soft skills for that role versus where we would like to see them score for the role. So the green areas that you can see here, they demonstrate where we would like to see the candidate scoring. The red areas are where we would prefer not to see them scoring. And then the grey spider web over the top is somebody's actual score. So it's very visual, it's very easy to read. And we can tell you the important motivations for the position here, and then the motivations important to the candidate and how they compare. All, as you can see, color-coded, so it's really, really simple to read. We make it awesome in that we can actually tell you how 2 individuals' soft skills compare to one another. And what that actually means is we can tell you how well, based upon this information, they will be able to work together, which is quite useful if maybe you've got 2 team members who will work closely on a project with one another, or equally a manager and a subordinate. How well will they actually work together? So you can see here, we provide a global scoring with regards to how well the 2 individuals will work together. And then quite interestingly, we can actually talk through their working styles. So the areas that they will work in harmony, you can see are noted in green there. And then those areas where both parties may well need to put in a bit more effort in order for the work together to be more smooth between them. Now, one other great thing that the tool actually provides is people who take the assessment will be provided with a summary of their soft skills. Whether they've been successful with you guys or not, we will provide them with this information here. So a brief summary of the results of their assessment. We feel that if somebody's going to spend 30 minutes to take the assessment, then it's really important that actually they receive something back. And when we're talking about graduates and interns, this is information that maybe they don't know about themselves. So it can be quite insightful and quite useful for them in particular. So just really to cover off, in terms of Assess First, we've got a pretty global presence. We help assess soft skills of candidates for over 3,500 customers and across 30 countries. So we're pretty global. So that's it from me. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to type them in and I shall read them out and answer them. Let me just have a look. I do actually have one question here already that has been entered during the presentation. How long do the tests take to sit. So, right, as I mentioned, so we have 3 assessments. The first is brain. That assesses, like I said, the mental agility of an individual. We've then got drive that looks at their motivations, and then shape that assesses their personality. So drive and shape take 10 minutes to complete, and then brain is slightly longer at 15 minutes. And then I guess it's quite important to note that actually each of our assessments, they need not be taken simultaneously. So one after the other. We encourage people, I guess, we want people to be as relaxed as possible when taking the assessment. And so if they wish, they can take them separately. We've just actually got another question here. How does this predictive modeling deter from being biased and help to promote diversity and not just recruit clones? Quite an interesting question. You're definitely not the first to ask, but yes, it's a common query. So firstly, the idea of using a tool, I guess, to assess soft skills, you could say already adds an element of diversification in that there's no focus upon which school somebody has attended, no focus upon their previous experience. It's simply a focus upon who somebody is and what they can bring to their company based upon those natural talents that they have. As I mentioned, we assess 20 different personality and motivational traits. Let's take personality as an example. So it's obviously a very broad subject. If you remember the personal radar, what it showed earlier is that the predictive modeling assesses a maximum of 8 to 10 key traits in an individual. That actually leaves 10 to 12 key traits where candidates or people can actually score anywhere within the 1 to 10 scoring range. So that actually allows for quite a breadth of different characters, and therefore, I guess, diversity to be there. Even when we look at those 8 to 10 traits that we're actually measuring, they have wide parameters. So, for example, let's say we wish a candidate to score high on being assertive with others, as an example. Scoring high means scoring between 7 and 10. Therefore, there's still a very wide parameter, and there's still a lot of room for those traits for them to actually sit wherever within that scoring of 7 to 10, allowing for even more diversification and removes that possibility of cloning candidates. Okay, so I think that is about it. Thank you very much for taking part in the webinar today. If you have any other questions or queries from what we've talked through, please feel free to contact me on the details here. Wishing you all a lovely day. Take care. Bye.